Okay, welcome back. Last time we made our way through Pokemon of Generation 8, those being the ones introduced in Sword and Shield, and also Legends Arceus, but I haven't played it, so I felt a bit bad putting a couple of those as my choices, but whatever. So today we're moving on to Generation 9, the most recent gen, and as of the time of me recording this, which is Scarlet and Violet. So I'm going to mention this right out the gate. I have not played the DLCs. I did not play the Teal Mask or the Indigo Disc, and so basically, the new forms of Ursaluna, the new paradoxes, all of those, I don't really know a whole lot about them, and I'll be treating Paradox Pokemon like I treated Ultra Beasts, so they will not be considered for their own thing. So, first things first is normal types, and honestly, right out the gate, I think this is probably going to be Oinkologne. I don't actually have a preference on which gender version I prefer more. However, I just love how its shiny becomes an actual pig. I think that's great. However, I want to give special mention to Tandemaus and Mousehold, because I think that's kinda cute. How they're just these two little mouse Pokemon, then at a certain level they will just start... Then after a certain level they can just randomly evolve. Just no ceremony to it, it's just like, hey, your Pokemon evolved, which is kind of insane. Grafaiai I didn't consider here because it'll probably win for Poison type, and as much as I love the commitment to the bit on Dunsparce evolving and becoming Dunsparce, 10 out of 10, I should have caught one and named it Netflix. I think it's kind of funny, but so, as I mentioned in the Gen 2 one, I really like Girafarig. I was really disappointed with Farigiraf. I wish Farigiraf was faster, but no, it just... I don't know, Farigiraf just kind of saddened me a bit. I just felt really disappointed after using it. But Oinkologne is pretty solid for the early game. Also, I love Lechonk. Lechonk is very cute, and it is a fantastic little name for it. But yeah, I think it's also just kind of a generally cool Pokemon. Moving on to Fire types. And Armarouge and Ceruledge are obviously like the two big picks here. However, I didn't use Ceruledge because I played Violet, and I didn't use Armarouge because it was only in Scarlet. I did start with, Fuecoco, but honestly I'm not the biggest fan of Skeledirge. But I do like Crocolaw. I think he's just a strange little creature. But I think it's kind of cute, it's kind of funny. And, I don't know, I think it's just generally kind of nice. I do like seeing how it has the little nest on its head, and the egg, which then hatches into the bird that Skeledirge uses for Torch Song. I will say Torch Song is a sick move, because I think it's like a slightly stronger reverse mystical fire, basically. I think it's like base 80 and it raises your special attack, as opposed to reducing your opponent's. And I think that is really cool. But honestly, I wish I liked Skeledirge, because I know I said Ghost Psychic. Ghost Fire is such a cool typing. And yeah, I just wish I liked this thing a bit more. Moving on to Water type. And I'll be honest, I did not use any of these in my playthrough. So, Quaxly, I'm okay with. Quaxwell and Quaquaval, I don't know, I'm just not a big fan of them. I considered using a Palafin on my team, and then I realized that the evolutionary requirement for it kind of meant I wouldn't be able to get one. Because it's like one of those things where you need Nintendo Switch Online to get it, and if I recall correctly, and yeah, I didn't have that, so that kind of kicked Finizen off the team, potentially. And I will say, I think I'm going to have to save Veluza for this. I think I have to save Veluza for this, because it didn't stay on the team, but there was a time where I was going to use Veluza on the team. I did keep it on the team for a little bit and then dropped it by the end. However, I will just say, for a Pokemon that bolts at you as fast as it possibly can when it sees you traversing the water, man, it's really slow in battle, isn't it? But honestly, Veluza, I think it looks kind of cool. Well, honestly, if you told me it was part Steel type, I would believe you, because honestly, what a Psychic doesn't really... Wait, it is part Psychic type, right? Yeah, it is. So yeah, what a Psychic is a little bit of a strange typing for it, but honestly, I think it looks kind of cool, and I just wish it was a little bit better in-game. Also, whatchamacallem, I think he's called Kofu. Him just saying Vulcan Veluza anytime he was, like, surprised, that definitely got it some bonus points. Moving on to Grass type. And I think... Okay, now this is a tough call here. I think I'm gonna go with Scovillain. I think Scovillain wins here. Also, I like how it's shiny, just... Like, its shiny is at least kind of distinguishable if you saw it on Viova World. Its pre-Evo Capsicade is also... Its pre-Evo would be a lot easier to see on Viova World if it wasn't, you know, tiny. Anyway, you know, Fire Grass is an interesting typing, and I like how they did it, having, you know, it being a two-headed thing and it's like a chili pepper type thing. I think that's a really cool little detail for it. Once again, I didn't use it in a playthrough. However, I want to give special mention to Sprigatito, and I think its middle evolution is Florigato, and Meowscarada, because I will say Sprigatito is very cute. I do really like Sprigatito. But also, I want to give special mention to Arboliva? I don't know how it's meant to be pronounced. Anyway, this thing in the raid battles, it's so helpful. Seed Sower turns out to just be a super helpful ability. And yeah, I ended up not using any of these in my playthrough, but I think Scovillain is one that if I play through Scarlet and Violet again, like if I eventually decide to do a run starring Quaxley as my starter, this will probably be on the team. So moving on to electric types, and it's Pawmot. 100% locked in, it's Pawmot. Pawmot is honestly, genuinely, the big question here is not whether Pawmot wins for electric types. It is, does Kilowattrel or Bellybolt beat the other fighting types? So Pawmot moves over to fighting. That's the real question here. Pawmot was on my team, because I knew as soon as I saw one, I wanted Pawmi to be on the team. And then Pawmo is pretty solid. And then Pawmot became probably the single most important Pokemon on my team for my playthrough of Scarlet. I nearly said Scarlet, I played Violet. And yeah, it's pretty fast, it's pretty powerful, it gets Iron Fist as an ability, and also it gets access to all of the elemental punches relatively early on, like kind of mid-game-ish. I think you gain access to them after you beat... I forget which one it is. I want to say it's Atticus, but it might be Ortega. It's either the Poison or the Fairy Team Starbase. As you gain access to those TMs. So yeah, Pawmot, absolutely, like, locked in, is on the team. Like, honestly, I think Pawmot might be my favorite Gen 9 Pokemon. Just, like, outright, I think it probably is. But I will come back to Kilowattrel and Bellybolt in a bit. Like, I'll see my other options for fighting types first. Moving on to ice types, this is an easy choice. This is Satitan. Satitan was another Pokemon that I used on my team. I think it has a really cool shiny. I was honestly very pleasantly surprised with how fast it was. Because obviously it isn't exactly a fast Pokemon, but I don't know, it was faster than I was expecting it to be. And honestly, realistically, Iron Bundle, I'm not counting because it's a Paradox Pokemon. Xianpao is legendary. And I just don't like Frigibax and Baxcalibur, and I forget what the last one... I forget what that entire evolutionary line is called. I'll be totally honest, Gen 9 Pokemon, if you were, like, quizzed me on them right now, I would probably misremember a few of their names. So, moving on to Fighting type. And now this leaves me with another question. And that's, does Flamigo beat all of the other flying types? And I think it does. So what I'm going to do, because I'll explain Flamigo when I get to flying types, because I'll admit, Annihilate is a Pokemon that I've only ever used for raids, It's really good for raids, but I don't particularly care for it all that much as a Pokemon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move Pawmot over a fighting type. And instead, in its place, I think I'm going to put Bellibolt. I'll put Bellibolt as my electric type choice. Because realistically, it was either that or Kilowatt-Roll. And to be totally honest, I think Bellibolt wins just barely because it's cute and it's like... I know that it's like Iono's kind of main Pokemon. Also, I will say, Iono has like the smartest AI in the entire game. She is the smartest trainer in that game. I don't know if the DLC changes it, but like, she was so, like, the fact that her ace is a Miss Magius, and then she terrestrializes it into electric type, so she has an electric type with Levitate, is the smartest thing in the game, by far. But yeah, Bellibolt. Like, Bellibolt is a Pokemon that I don't have much of a reason to like beyond it's cute. But, you know, it's just so smiley. But yeah, Pawmot, absolutely, just... Pawmot clears both of these types for me by quite a large margin. So, moving on to Poison type. And this is going to be Grafaiai. Honestly, Revavroom, I don't... Okay, Revavroom, I just don't really care about. To be totally honest, it's like, cool! Oh, every Team Star Boss just uses one? Great, I guess. I mean, to be fair, you know, Evil Team just uses the same Pokemon, but, you know, that's kind of their entire thing. Anyway, Grafaiai being a kind of artist Pokemon, I think is kind of cool. To be totally honest, I did catch a... Oh, it's a Shroodle, that's what it's called. I did catch a Shroodle really early on and kept it on the team for a little bit. Then eventually just kind of went, no, not really, and just kind of put it back in the box. And then about 7 gyms in, I decided, you know what, no, I'm going to use this thing. And pulled it back out of the box and trained up Grafaiai. And Grafaiai is pretty solid. Also, I think it has a... Like, it doesn't have an amazing shiny, but I think it's a pretty cool one. Also, I like how its eyes turn purple. I think that looks cool. Okay, so moving on to Ground type. So we have Toedscool, Toedsacruel? I don't remember what this thing's even called. The Ursaluna version, like the Blood Moon Ursaluna, looks kind of cool, but again, haven't played the DLC, so I can't really speak on it, and let's be real here, the answer is Clodsire. Once again, another Pokemon that I didn't use on my team, and it kind of wins for just being super cute. But also, I think I have to give Quagsire a win here somewhere, because, I don't know, like, Poison Ground is a kind of unique typing. It belongs to like one of my favorite characters in the gen, because Rika is one of the only characters in Gen 9 I liked. You know, she's kind of barely in the game, but, you know, I digress. Like, she is barely in that game, but she is still, like, by far one of the only characters I liked. Anyway, Clodsire is definitely It's definitely, in terms of play style, not really my thing, but in terms of just design and everything, I quite like it a lot. So, let's move on to Flying type. And this is going to be Flamigo. Flamigo absolutely clears this. It's shiny, just kind of turning a bit pale. While I did find a random shiny Flamigo in my playthrough, I didn't use it. However, I think this is... I don't know if the strategy's changed, but I remember seeing this was like the speedrun Pokemon for this game, because it's fighting flying type, you can get one super early and it's really strong. I also distinctly remember that Flamigo was the closest thing in the entire game to making me lose a battle. Because my team didn't really have all that much to deal with a Flamigo. Oh, okay, I should note, I had Pawmot on the team, but at the same time, just to try to keep everything kind of on level and not get super over-leveled, I was regularly, you know, just taking things on and off the team so I didn't over-level myself, because otherwise I think I would have just absolutely annihilated the late game. And because, you know, first time I'm playing through a Pokemon game, I will catch one of everything I see. So, yeah, I ended up nearly losing to Larry when he sent out his Flamico and it just started brave birding everything. So that was the closest I came to losing in Scarlet and Violet. So, moving on to Psychic type. This is Espathra. I don't need to sit and think about it. It's Espathra. Espathra wins, partially because I think it looks kind of goofy. I like how its shiny turns it into like an actual kind of fashion ostrich thing. It has two great abilities in the form of Speed Boost, which is just generally great, and Opportunist, which honestly kind of immediately shot right up towards the top of the list of my favourite abilities. It's just like, oh, your stat boost? This is also my stat boost. Obviously, this isn't always going to be the most practical. Like, if someone sets up a swords dance on you, it's not exactly going to be optimal. Oh, but it also has a special thing in the form of its special move that I think only it gets, which is Lumina Crash, which is I think it's like base 80 psychic move, and it drops the target's special defense by 2 stages. Like, that is kind of insane. To be totally honest, Espathra is another Pokemon that I kind of just was thinking about having on the team for a long time, and before I eventually just decided, okay, yeah, I've seen these things like in a good few areas, I'm gonna use one. And honestly, I'm glad that I did. Moving on to Bug type. And this is very slim pickings, because I do not particularly... I don't like Spidops. I don't remember what this thing's called. I think this thing's Rabscare. I remember Nimble, and I remember Lokix, because Lokix just annoys me. I like the little woolly spider. Like, I forget what it's called. I think it's like Tarantula or something. But at the same time, Lokix is objectively like a good Pokemon, I think. It's Bug Dark type, which is a pretty interesting typing. But also, it just annoys me because it's one of those Pokemon that turns up everywhere and it chases you constantly. And it's just an annoyance to deal with. I mean, I didn't use any of these Pokemon in my playthrough. To be totally honest, I caught a Rabscare, and when it evolved into, I forget what this thing is even called, I did think, you know what, this thing looks kind of cool, I might use one. And then I looked at its stats, and it's all special attack. Like, it has, like, 145 special attack or something, but everything else is just nothing. This is, like, maybe in a Trick Room setup, but that's way too gimmicky for me to want to use in a regular playthrough. So, basically, this comes down to Pokemon I would actually use versus Pokemon I think looks kind of fun. I'm gonna go with Tarantula for this. I also like it, it's shiny. I think it just looks kind of fun. It's just like a little woolly spider. And I think it's kind of neat. I will say, though, I still have to go with Lokix for this. Because it does have the kind of, like, blade arm things, which look really cool. And if I do a second playthrough, I imagine I could see myself using one of these on my team. Because it is very cool looking. So, moving on to Rock types. And I think Glimmora is kind of interesting. I think Glimmora is interesting. Especially in the sense that it has its ability where it's like when it gets, I think it's called Toxic Debris, where when it gets hit, toxic spikes come out. I think that is a really cool idea. And evidently the devs did too. You know, just in the base game they put it as Ace, not her lead. But hey, I'm over a year late to that statement. So, yeah, that's been said to death, and I think I remember hearing that in the rematches in the Indigo Disc they fixed that, but I obviously haven't played the DLC and have no intention of doing so, because I accidentally just elbowed my desk, but yeah, I have no intention of playing that DLC, to be totally honest. Like, I'll be honest, I do not like Scarlet and Violet. They are my least favorite Pokemon games, by far. Mainline. I'll probably play it over Pokemon Dash, but don't quote me on that. I might have to try playing Pokemon Dash again to fully decide. Anyway, Glimmora I think is kind of cool. Cloth I think is one of those Pokemon that everyone kind of saw before the game came out and just went, yeah, that's him, that's the guy. But honestly, just from a design perspective, I kind of like Garganackle. This giant, just kind of salt golem. Also, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, because I know it's meant to be like gargantuan and then the like sodium chloride because it's NaCl. Also, I like how it's shiny. Just makes it look more kind of sandy, or I guess maybe it's not salt, maybe it's like brown sugar. I don't know. Either way, these are more Pokemon that I didn't use on my team. These are more Pokemon that I didn't use on my team and haven't really given the time of day in a playthrough and haven't really just used at all, so I don't really have much to say on any of them. So I'm going to move on to Ghost types. I also don't have much to say about any of these. Okay, so now I have to make a choice. So it's not going to be Skeledirge, because I'm avoiding... Wait, did I do that for Gen 7? I did not do that for Gen 7, okay. So, basically, I can't go with Skeledirge for this. So, it basically comes down to Cellar... What? I've forgotten... I've blanked on this thing's name. I've completely blanked on this thing's name. What's it called again? Oh, Ceruledge. Yeah, this is how much I remember a lot of Gen 9's Pokemon. So then there's Bramblin and Brambleghast, there's Grievard and Houndstone, and then there is Annihilape, Gimmighoul, and Gholdengo. It's not going to be Gimmighoul or Gholdengo. I think Sinistea and Sinistcha, I think, are kind of cool. Honestly, they might win. No, I have to go with Ceruledge for this. It just looks too cool for me to go against it. Wait, why is it... Is it shiny just not on here? Oh, it is. It's shiny just barely changes. Okay, got it. But yeah, it's a kind of cool Pokemon. It kind of rocks a kind of Black Knight aesthetic, which I think looks really cool. Once again, Fire Ghost is a sick type combination. I think it has its own special move, but I don't remember. I didn't use one in playthrough. I kind of got one. I'll be honest, I caught a Charcadet, I got the stuff to evolve it, went, cool, that's it in the Pokedex, put it in the box, never thought about it again. That's kind of how I thought about a lot of the Pokemon in Gen 9, to be totally honest, though. Bramblin and Brambleghast, I think they're a kind of funny kind of gimmick. I will say, I don't hate Fluttermane. Like, I think it's alright. I know that I have heard from a competitive perspective, Fluttermane is a problem. Like, I remember hearing it was kind of an issue, and I'll give special mention to Annihilape for kind of helping me out with raids. But honestly, other than that, I don't really have much to say on any of these. I don't like Gholdengo. It takes forever. It takes forever to get one, and then... I don't know, I think it's just more annoying. Honestly, I think part of why I don't like Gholdengo is just the fact that it's Pokemon 1000. The fact that Pokemon number 1000 was that kind of irritates me. Like, I don't know what it is, but just that kind of irks me just a little bit. I know it's an amazing Pokemon. I know that Make It Rain is a super good move. I forget what it's called, but I know its ability is super good. I just don't like it very much. One thing we can all agree on is that it's shiny as garbage, though, right? We can all agree on that. It's shiny as garbage. Anyway, moving on to dragons. And this is a very, very easy choice. Because, honestly, DLC or not, it's Hydrapple. Hydrapple's the only one of these Pokemon that I care about, really. Aside from, like, you know, legendaries and mythicals and stuff. Archaludon, I think, looks kind of cool, though. But no, it's Hydrapple. I think it's a perfect... Like, I think it's a perfect kind of new evolution for Applin. I know that it has Dipplin and then becomes Hydrapple. But I think it's super cool. Just like, yes, it's this Apple Hydra. And I think it works pretty well for the kind of narrative arc, I suppose, that Kieran goes through in the game. And I think it's just kind of cool. I should note, I'm kind of just going through, like, the cliff notes of the story, because once again, I'm not buying that DLC. Honestly, I should just title this video, like, Person Who Doesn't Like Gen 9 Talks About His Favorite Pokemon of Gen 9. Anyway, moving on to dark types. This one is... I think... I have to go with Meowscarada for this one. I think King Gambit is a really cool idea. Like, I like the idea of King Gambit, I just wish it wasn't so slow. And also, like, I know what they're kind of going for with it having, like, the giant blade mustache, but I think it looks a little goofy. And also the fact that it's, like, always on its chair. I know that it's meant to be, like, evocative of, like, a shogun, I think. And I think it does, and it makes a good, it does a good job of following up the, the pawn to the bishop. I think it does what it needs to do very well, and also it probably wins for steel type. Does it win for steel type? It almost certainly does, yeah. So I'm gonna give this to Meowscarada. Meowscarada getting a win for the Sprigatito line. Once again, I only did one playthrough, so I haven't used the Sprigatito line yet, because I started with Fuecoco in my one and only playthrough. But I think it's kind of cool. It does, like, stuff with yo-yos by the looks of things. Flower Trick seems like an annoyance of a move to deal with, because I know it's, like, guaranteed crit every time, and I think it ignores defense drops or something. Like, I think it ignores stats or something and is a guaranteed crit. I might be misremembering that, because I'll be honest, I have not touched Scarlet and Violet for a good while at this point. But yeah, it's a pretty cool Pokemon, and Sprigatito is just a very lovable Pokemon. However, I will give special credit to Mabosstiff for just being a very good dog, and honestly, without Mabosstiff, I would have not cared about Arven at all. Mabosstiff led that story so well. I mean, credit to him, Arven is probably... In terms of being a character, he's easily my favourite of the three. Like, I like him more than Penny and Nemona, probably put together, to be totally honest. But yeah, I'm still gonna stick with Meowscarada for this one. Moving on to Steel type, this one will be King Gambit. So I like Bisharp more, but I think King Gambit does look cool. It hits like a train. It has very solid physical defense, which realistically you probably need when you're 4 times weak to fighting. But hey, I think it looks kinda cool, it hits really hard, and I think Supreme Overlord is an amazing concept for an ability. It's just like, oh, this is coming in as Anchor. Okay, it's my last Pokemon. Instant +5. I think that is super cool. However, at the same time, it also suffers from a severe case of having, like, base... Actually, hang on, wait. Let me just double check. I'm gonna double check what this thing's speed is. Base 50. It has base 50 speed, so it is very slow, so it's pretty slow, but it hits like a train, especially if it comes in late in a fight. So it's a good kind of closing out the battle type Pokemon. But again, in an in-game scenario, you don't really need to worry about it. And I have used it quite a fair bit just for, whatchamacallit, raid battles, because Kowtow Cleave, and Ironhead, like, those with a choice band, yeah, they're pretty good for getting through with Pokemon that are weak to it. Moving on to Fairy type, this is Dashbun. 100% easy choice, Dashbun. Just like with Grafaiai, I caught a Fido super early on, and then kind of dropped it from the team after a while, thinking, you know what, I'm probably not going to use this thing. And then I put it back on the team, got Dashbun, and Dashbun is now one of my favourite Gen 9 Pokemon. Like, yeah, Dashbun is super cute, it's a Fairy type. I love the gimmick of it being a bun. Like, it's a dog that's it's basically a dog made out of bread and I love how its ability ties into that with well-baked body, making it immune to fire and giving it more defenses. Because I imagine it would kind of, like, crisp up and harden. I think that's a really cute and nice little way to do that. And honestly, I love Dashbun. It is easily one of my favorite Gen 9 Pokemon. It might be second only to Pawmart. If I'd played the DLC, Hydrapple might be in there. I honestly kind of just wish Hydrapple was in Gen 8 though. Anyway, moving on to my favorite starter Pokemon. So I only did one playthrough, and I had to kind of agonize over which starter I would pick. However, in the end, I did, because in the end, okay, so, the first time I played through any, whatchamacallit, the first time I played through any Pokemon game for a very long time, I've always gone with the Fire Starter. However, as I went through the game, I realized I should have gone with Sprigatito. Sprigatito is super cute, it evolves into Meowscarada, it gets Dark typing, and yeah, I think it just looks really cool. It looks really cute, it looks kinda cool, and I like it all the way through its evolutionary line, whereas I like Quaxly, I really don't like Quaxwell. I'm kinda just on Quaquaval, and then I like Fuecoco, I like Crocodile, and I don't like Skeledirge very much, so I'm gonna say Sprigatito for this. Favorite gimmick form of the region? Honestly, I think I have to say Paldea and Wooper for this. I think I'm going to say Paldea and Wooper for this, because, you know what, at least if I find a shiny Paldea and Wooper, it looks like a shiny. Because, honestly, Paldea and Tauros just annoys me. Because it's just like, okay, I'm going to try to look for a shiny, why do they all look the same? It's just like, if there was one time when just making the shiny be the default regular colors would just work. It's like, hey, we flipped the, like, really dark grey and the black bit. It's like, cool, with the way the game's lit, I'm not gonna see that. It's like, it's just a hope for the best. Anyway, I'm gonna go with Wooper for this. And with that, no wait, we still have Legends. And this one is going to be Xianpao. Easy choice on Xianpao. Wuxian, I don't really care about. Tinglu, don't really care about. Chiyu, don't really care about. Koraidon, I think looks kinda cool. Aside from, you know, the giant dumb wheel in its chest. Same with Miraidon. I still think looks kinda cool. Has a weird giant wheel in its chest. Ogapon, I like how it changes type depending on its mask. I think that's a cool little gimmick for it. Terrapagos, I think it's called. I think it's a interesting lore Pokemon for the terrestrialization thing. Pecharunt, could not care less. Like, I know it like ties in like the epilogue of the Indigo Disc where it has like the entire thing with Mochi. It's like poisoned Mochi or something. Then there's Okidogi, Munkidori, and Fazandipiti. Fazandipiti looks like a Pokemon I would really like, and I saw its stats and it's like, oh, this is specially defensive. Not an attacker, okay. I know their whole deal is like poison and stuff, but I don't know. They kind of just hit them. I don't know, I feel like in terms of like wanting to use one the team, they kind of missed the mark for me. Anyway, it's not like I would have been using them because they're on the DLC for the game I didn't like. I will say though, Okidogi, if Okidogi formed a heel tag team with Incineroar, that's money. Like, Pokemon Wrestling League, make tag team champions right there. Okay, so with that, I'm now done with Gen 9. I'm not done with Gen 9. I'm really sorry for not having, like, as much positive to say about all of these Pokemon, but genuinely, I just do not like Scarlet and Violet very much. It's like, the few Pokemon and characters that I do genuinely really like in that region are kind of just overshadowed by just a ton of stuff I hate. Like, Paradox Pokemon, I don't particularly like most of them. The story, don't like it. Nemone, can't stand it. Penny, okay, fine. Arven, deserved so much better. That backpack he carries is so big because he's trying to carry the entire game by himself. And I don't know if the DLC fixes some of those problems, I really hope it does. But honestly, I don't have much interest in finding out. Anyway, however, before I go, I will mention what my endgame team was. I had Skeledirge, Satitan, Pawmot, Grafaiai, Dashbun, and Espathra. That was my endgame team when I finished the game, when credits rolled for the first time. Those were my 6. So, to quickly run through my picks again, we have Oinkologne, Crocodile, Veluza, Scovillain, Bellibolt, Satitan, Pawmot, Grafaiai, Clodsire, Flamigo, Espathra, Lokix, Garganackle, Ceruledge, Hydrapple, Meowscarada, Kingambit, Dashbun, not Scorbunny. Scorbunny was up there. Sprigatito, whatchamacallit, Paldean Wooper, and Xianpao. Next time is when we get to, well, kind of the best of the best. It's where we choose the favorites of each gen, the favorites of each gen, the favorites of each type, and then the favorite overall. And then, in the final episode after that, we'll be going through all of these. Depending on how long all of these ones take, I might end up doing that in just one. I don't know, I'll see how it goes. Anyway, as always, I'm going to have this linked in the description below. As always, feel free to tell me yours in the comments. Feel free to tell me about how wrong I am about my opinions. And yeah, as always, feel free to leave a comment, click any buttons down below if you feel so inclined. Now I'll hopefully see you all in the next one. Okay, thanks for watching. Later.